So try and start that back up again. Right. Yep, discard Elven Light and put back to draw a card. And you know, honestly, why not? Let's pay 4 for the final resourceful. Did I? Yes, I did add the extra resources treated. And heal up Treebeard. So yeah, restore previous session. All I've got open in Firefox is my Twitch dashboard and the Twitch chat. And the pop-out chat. This shouldn't be a problem, but apparently it is. Oh, no. I'm going to change how I pay for that resourceful because I do want to save the resource for a feint, which I might be wanting. Now, yeah. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just quest for 9. So I know that I'm going to be unsuccessful. But this way I can kill more things. And okay, it's got the top card captured deck, which I don't have. So I could just take that as Doomed 2. Yeah, let's take this Doomed 2 and I failed quest by 1. Then I'm going to engage the Angmar Captain. I'm going to feint the Angmar Captain, play Unseen Strike on Treebeard, defend against this guy, plus 2 attack, so he's attacking for 5, deals 2 damage, deal 1 more damage to Treebeard to increase his attack, so he's attacking for 7 against enemies with higher engagement costs, which means that I can kill both of these. And Control N, 3, Scarred Elven Light, put it back, Deep Knowledge, by 2, draw 2. Okay. Well, I will put down that Song of Travel onto Aaron, but I will not pay for it from the player resource pool. Okay. Right. And Protector of Lorien will obviously go on Treebeard. And now, under the circumstances, I feel like aggressively cycling Elven Light is a decent idea, so I'm going to start discarding Elven Light during the planning phase and put it back, so 1, 2, 3. Okay. And now there is 7 threats in the staging area, so that's quest 6, 8, 11. 3 progress. Do Elven Light another 3 times. Dangerous. Discard Elven Light and put it back. I could just play that Lair of Nimrodel right now. It's Deep Knowledge. Yeah, I'm just going to play Lair of Nimrodel to increase Treebeard's willpower by 12. So now there's enough progress. I can travel to the southern gate if I want. Of course, it will increase the attack of all these, but I have Protector of Lorien to increase Treebeard's defense, so that's fine. So I travel here, raise my threat up to 35, which is approaching anyway. Well, I still actually don't have to engage these if they have an engagement cost of 36. The only thing that's slightly annoying. I will optionally engage one of them, and I do have to take Dungeon Guard. So yeah, you know what, let's Quick Strike, Unseen Strike, kill this cruel torturer. Yeah, and I'll just defend this guy. That's fine. This. Yeah, actually, that shadow effect could screw me over if it ever came up. I don't think I noticed that when I was building the deck. But yeah, solo is very different from multiplayer. I'm very used to playing two-handed. I'm going to discard Elven Light to boost Treebeard's defense and then play back to draw another card. I'm very used to playing two-player or two-handed, and so when I play solo, I tend to come to staging, I reveal one card and then go, is that it? Is that all that I have to deal with? Well, that was easy. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that it sort of cuts both ways. There's stuff that you really can't do in solo that you can in multiplayer, but there's stuff you can't really do in multiplayer that you can in solo. In general, solo is possibly easier, but it has... Sometimes I find it more difficult to build decks for solo, because if I'm building for multiplayer, I can just concentrate on an idea and focus everything on that idea, whereas Whereas if I'm building for multiplayer, then the deck has to. No, sorry. If I'm building for solo, then the deck has to be able to handle all aspects of the game. It's Battle Fury. I like that Battle Fury actually is quite useful with Treebeard because it's a card which wasn't particularly well received when it was released. And indeed, I didn't think that much of it, but there are some decent targets. And Treebeard is definitely a good one. Okay, so I'm questing for 11. Since I have no allies, that does nothing. Heal up. I suppose I could... Again, I could increase my willpower an excessive amount. I could have played that second Protectorate Lion if I wanted to draw as much of my deck as possible. Since I've already had all 3 copies of Elrond's Council, it doesn't really matter, of course. So yeah, that was problematic for a bit earlier on, but it still worked out fine in the end. Of course, that's sort of a general Mount Graham thing. You can afford to quest unsuccessfully from time to time because your threat is so low to start with, and because since you know that you're going to have to raise your threat to 35 to go to the southern gate, any threat raises up to that point just don't really matter. Yeah, you can definitely focus more on an idea in multiplayer, knowing the aspects you like will be covered by another deck. Yeah, that's the thing. Quite often I have started building a deck, and then maybe I test it out in solo, and find that it just doesn't work. But then I realize it'll work fine if I just put it in multiplayer. Of course, it gets even crazier if you actually build decks in concept for a specific fellowship, because then you can come up with an idea which you can't make work in a single deck. And it's not just that it doesn't work in solo, it's just that if you build one deck that tries to do this thing, it kind of doesn't work if you just put it with random other decks. But then if you build 2 decks that are both devoted to making this idea work, then it can work, and it can be amazing. Or your 3 or 4 decks, even. I find that a decent amount with the Line Unbroken, obviously my progression style playthrough series, because I'm trying to use every card that's been released and always use the new hero in the pack they were released. And there are some cases where I'm like, well, this is... Sometimes, actually, I sort of look at it and think, well, this is more of a support thing. It is much better suited to 3 or 4 player than 2 player or 2-handed, as it is for me. But then, if I specifically focus both decks on that thing, I can actually get it to work. The single player game tends to play slower, so you have time to get to all your stuff, but you have to include everything you need. Yeah, that's exactly the sort of dichotomy of it. And yeah, Battle Fury is amazing with Treebeard. It never occurred to me before I built this deck. Okay, so I just want to make a point. I'm not going to play again, hoping for a bad draw. That wasn't the best draw, but actually I think theoretically, what could actually screw me over in this quest would be... So, I start with a prison cell, playing with this deck, so I'm questing with Airwin straight off, assume I don't have Strider straight away, and I don't have, like, good Harvest, Protector of Lorien. So I'm just questing for 4. If I then reveal the Patrol Room, then that's 4 threat in the staging area, and then obviously I travel there, and then the following round, once again, I'm questing for 4 against 1 threat, but there's 2 quest points of active location to get through. And then if I reveal another high threat card, well, if I reveal another Patrol Room, then I'm completely stuck. I'm location locked. I can't get back any of my cards. Well, I can't get back my 2 heroes unless I find a willpower boost. I'm just screwed. But even like less than that, even if I just get a Cruel Torturer or a Goblin Tormentor, since they're 2 threat each, then I would only make 1 progress on the Patrol Room, and then the following round I'm questing for 4 against 3, and I have to reveal another card, which will probably have threat, and I'll probably be looking at staging area lock. Or, I mean, actually, even... It doesn't even have to be a cool 2-threat card. So I just reveal a second prison cell. So I make the 2 progress to explore the Patrol Room, and then I travel... Well, then do I travel to a prison cell? Because then, next... It's probably better in this circumstance, actually, to not travel and hope that I reveal 0 threat the following round, so that I get my heroes back. Because if I travel, then even if I reveal 0 threat, all I will do is explore the prison cell, and I still won't be getting my heroes back, and then I'm just really hoping for Strider to turn up. So I'd have to take the chance, and then maybe I get the Cruel Torturer, and I'm locked again. So, this deck definitely... I wouldn't expect this deck to be 100% against this quest, but it is pretty impressively effective. Because it's solo, I can take that time to get set up, especially because Mount Graham I start at an incredibly low threat, and I can get resourcefuls in. And really, this deck works on very simple principles. It mostly just makes Treebeard do everything, and I have the specific plan for Jayla Gorna. So yeah, there's stuff that can screw this up, but it works a lot of the time. So what I am going to do now, is I'm going to try the Nightmare version of the quest, which I have not played before, with this deck or otherwise. In fact, I've barely looked at the Nightmare version of this quest. Like obviously I will have seen some of the cards spoiled in the release article. Yeah, release article. But I haven't looked at the rest of them, and I certainly haven't actually played the quest. So after choosing 7 heroes, Instead of the standard captured deck setup, shuffle any remaining heroes into your captured deck, then place the face turn set aside hero on the bottom of your captured deck. Okay, that's that is something that I was not aware of. And players cannot win the game while a hero is captured. Okay, that part I knew. But yeah, obviously this won't really impact this deck since it has no captured cards. Yeah, let's shuffle into deck. And we starting hand with 3 cards. One thing that does bug me about this quest is that you get your new starting hand of 3 cards, which, you know, it's kind of fair that, given the way the quest works, you get a smaller starting hand, especially because usually, like, half your deck has been captured, so you have less to get through. But it bugs me that you cannot mulligan your new starting hand. And okay, right. So the new nightmare version of Prison Cell, that's what's going on here. Okay, that's interesting and irrelevant to this, obviously. So, oh, Octagon is slightly confused about the interaction of the Nightmare card and the quest cards. So, whatever. Go in. So, yep, I have nothing to play there. At least I got tactics cards. Yes, that's something, but I'm not that bothered. I mean, actually having the feint is kind of nice because it means potentially I can feint Jailer Gornak instead of having Treebeard defend him, since I know that Treebeard will take damage. Oh, okay. Actually, no, it's really helpful in this circumstance because there's the new Nightmare version of Jailer Gornak who is harder to kill. 19 attack. Huh. Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure I cannot do this. I'm pretty sure that this deck will not work against Nightmare Mount Graham because you really need more time to build up your power before being able to deal with this version of Jailer Gornak. And the downside of having nothing captured except for 2 heroes is you really don't get any time to power up before just heading straight into stage 3. So, okay, let's either deal 1 damage to each exhausted character control or... Okay, I'll deal 1 damage to Eowyn. So I make 2 progress. I rescue my 2 heroes and I advance to stage 3. So, Southern Gate, Jailer Gornak, move all to encounter deck, shuffle, I guess it shuffles anyway, but just to be sure, and on Marauder. Right, so obviously I'm going to want to travel to the prison cell. So now there is 10 threat in the staging area, and I can't... Actually, no, hang on. Can I take out Gornak right away? I mean, this is actually pretty... Yeah, Faint, Treebeard, Airwind, and Unseen Strike. So this, I guess this might just be a really lucky opening hand for the Nightmare Raiden. Otherwise, I would quite possibly go for just engaging the Marauder, fainting that, and then killing it with Treebeard and Arwen. So I'd be attacking for 4, deal 2 damage to Treebeard, and that would mean I'd at least be down to 7 threat in the staging area. That would probably still be too much. But yeah, so 10, 13, 14, 17, yeah, okay, I can do this. So I engage Jailer Gornak. Play Faint. Trigger Eowyn. And Unseen Strike. And deal 2 damage to Treebeard, so I'm attacking for 19. Yeah. I do like that. That shadow effect is one which usually I absolutely hate. But with this particular setup, it's brilliant because obviously I have no allies in my deck at all, so it's essentially one more blank shadow. No ally or minimal ally decks have more and more tools available to them, perhaps especially in solo where the encounter deck is slower. I was having to beat Shelob there recently in campaign mode. Sting definitely helped. Yeah, Sting is brilliant against Shelob, which is very thematic. With a Sam Galadriel deck using Strider and the Spod Spirit's Song from Beneath the Sands. My only allies were Elrond and Core Gandalf, and I didn't use them to attack, representing moments of fate / luck / help from far. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Estelle Down. It's... I would say that they probably don't work for everything still, and yeah, like no allies. Actually, yeah, just Sam and Galadriel is definitely that's impressive because obviously Galadriel can't quest right off the bat. So yeah, that's not just almost no allies. It's also only 2 heroes, and only one of them can do things, unless you get Nenya in your opening hand. But Galadriel is really good. Yeah, having no allies is definitely... it tends to be risky. But because obviously you're more limited in... willpower tends to be the problem in my experience. So if you just draw too many... if you just draw too much threat early on that you can't get rid of, locations that you can't travel to, or enemies that you can't safely engage, and thus have to leave in the staging area, then that no ally deck can be very susceptible to a bad draw because it's that much more difficult to actually discard and draw. It's that much more difficult to remember what I was saying. Spirit Scientist. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. That extra willpower. That would. Yeah. This is that is the difficulty. As I said, it's why. I mean, when I did the attack, the challenge to build a deck using only attachments, I actually put Favour of the Lady in it, which generally is not such a great choice, 2 cost for 1 willpower, but you just need all the willpower you can get. And that's one of the things that tends to be a problem for a no ally deck, because a deck with allies, if you reveal a bit more threat than you were expecting, you can probably even it out, because next round you play an ally with more willpower, but with no allies, you are restricted to your heroes, and there are less ways to increase their willpower than there are to just play allies that have willpower. So I guess I should play this Protector Ryan as well. And now there is 6 threat in the staging universe, so let's quest for 7. Orc of Bardia. Well, that's going to be a problem. So, I'm losing by 2. I might just lose by 2. And then I'll engage this Animal Marauder. And defend. Capture 3 random cards from your hand underneath attacking enemy. Okay, so let's do a random number 1 to 4. 2. Elrond's Council is the one card that is not captured. But I took no damage at least. Alright, Strider, very welcome sight. Play that. Let's see. Oh, that's a scary card for your deck. Oh, the Orc of Bardia, yeah. Yeah, I might want to hope for Feint. It's nice, obviously it fits in with the story, because in the story the the whole circumstances, but Faraday has just turned up to demand that you be turned over to him, and then you're sneaking out while he's arguing with Gorner. So it does make sense that you actually... Okay, yeah, I thought the Angmar Orcs encounter set looked bigger than it was before. So yeah, they actually gave this the Angmar Orcs set icon, so it exactly fits, because it's at that point when you kind of caught their attention, and then you deal with Gornak, that also Faraday's own orcs are specifically coming for you. What's it? These two need a burning brand for not their legend. I mean, not necessarily. There was already the Tunnels of Mount Graham shadow effect, and well, I mean, if you're talking about for my deck in particular, I can't have a burning brand. It's an item that would be captured. Oh yeah, I guess just for this having 2 extra shadow cards. Maybe. I mean, burning brand is always good. There are other ways to deal with shadow cards. And yeah, for this deck in particular, for the deck building challenge, burning brand is an item. I can't use it. So let's quest for 7 again. Another prison cell. And I'm losing by 1. Yeah, no, I guess I'm going to just lose by 1. He's moving towards me just being in complete staging walk. I really have to hope I get lucky with my draw here. Okay, Elven Light. I can discard that and then draw it. Good Harvest is not helpful. Discard to Protector of Lion and draw. Okay, Deep Knowledge. Draw. Okay. Discard to Protector of Lorient again and draw. Okay, self-preservation is good. I haven't seen a resourceful yet. 15 cards down. I suppose it's not such terrible chances. I played a game 2 days ago where I had all 3 copies of something in the bottom 9 cards of my deck, and all 3 copies of something else in the bottom 11. So that was pretty implausible. Possible, obviously, but unlikely. So all 3 copies being in the bottom 35 cards, by contrast, is a lot more reasonable. So, okay, I could play Protection of the Lorien, but I really want the self-preservation. Can still use Aelwing's Protector of the Lorien, and I can use a Good Harvest Spirit to power Elven Light some more. Okay, so I am going to quest for 7. Torch Chamber. Okay, zero effect. Oh, it's Surges. But okay, so X is twice. X is twice the number of cards captured underneath Torture Chamber. You'd expect there to be a "the" in that sentence. Twice the number of cards captured underneath Torture Chamber. I mean, this isn't necessarily the first time I think that I've spotted oddities on some Nightmare cards. Maybe they get less freedom than the regular stuff, which would make sense because they're a more niche part of the game. Anyway, so yeah, the instant combat phase, it's in the staging will deal 1 damage to each exhausted character. That could be a problem for other decks. However, there are no cards captured underneath the Torture Chamber because I have nothing to capture. And so twice nothing is still nothing, so this has 0 quest points and is therefore explored. However, it surges. Oh, great. I am dead. Yeah, I think I'm dead. So, where is that ammo? Oh. Shuffle. So this is my 4th roll. So 3, 7, 9. So losing by 2. Discard Elven Light to protect Lorien, losing by 1. Good Harvest Spirit. Pull it back. Draw a card. And do it again. So now I'm breaking even. That unexpected card would have been useful a bit sooner. Let's do the 3rd time. Quick Strike. It's still not going to save me. But I actually make 1 progress. and then I can't deal with both of these at once. This is now 4 attack, this is 3 attack. I cannot take an undefended 3, and I only have 1 defender. So that ends this. Yeah, this deck is not designed for the Nightmare version. Trying to build a deck like this that could be the Nightmare version, I think, would be much more difficult than the standard version. If it's even possible. Because honestly, the quest is balanced around the assumption that you do have a captured deck, and therefore that your cards will be captured from your captured deck, and so you'll take some time rescuing them before you move on to stage 3, and thus you have a chance to build up a board state. I mean, it's a general thing in quests that sometimes advancing the quest too early can cause you problems because of extra effects that come into play, extra cards being revealed, boss enemies turning up that you're not ready to deal with. But this is really, I would say, a bigger case than most, because it's not just that the boss enemy turns up, it's also that this 3-threat location which you cannot travel to immediately turns up, and it's that you shuffle the Angmar Orcs encounter set into the encounter deck, where obviously the Escape from Mount Graham encounter set is much nicer and easier to deal with. Generally lower threat. And so on. And enemies are less dangerous. So that, but then bringing in the Angmar Orcs makes it all nasty again. I mean, obviously it's a standard encounter set, it's not a especially horrible one. It's used in normal quests, but it's used in normal quests when you started with all your 3 heroes from the start of the quest, plus a normal hand of 6 cards, and so on. Not where you started with 1 hero and 3 cards and half your deck taken away, and you have to explore locations and kill enemies to get it back. So, yeah, I mean, this was a very interesting challenge to take on, and I'm not sure how I would have dealt with it in an earlier card pool. It would have been much more difficult without Tactics AoE, just because of the shortage of willpower in a no ally deck, and that combined with the big influx of threat as soon as you advance to stage 3, if you can't immediately deal with it. So yeah, and because it makes sense, because the quest was not designed really under the assumption that you would have just 2 heroes captured and nothing else. It was designed under the assumption that you'd have a decent sized captured deck. In some ways, it might well be easier to sort of optimize it the other way and have a load of your stuff captured so that what's left is suddenly incredibly consistent at doing whatever it is that you want it to do. And so then, correspondingly, with the card pool at the time that this quest was released, doing it with only heroes captured may well not have been possible, and correspondingly, now doing the Nightmare version with only heroes captured is probably not really possible. I'm not ruling it out, but it seems unlikely. I'm just gonna take a look at the rest of the encounter deck, turn this into an impromptu Nightmare search review or something. Okay, so prison guard, capture one, good bit, planning action, rescue a random card from under it, then raise each perfect. Okay, so essentially the same as the new prison cell. Yeah, those are interesting, and I mean the threat raises are not a problem particularly. And it lets you rescue potentially multiple cards, even when you can't deal with it for whatever reason. So I mean, in this case, it may be that you can only defend the prison guard, you can't kill it, but you can still get your cards back from it. In the case of the prison cell, it may be that you travel there, but then you find yourself short on willpower and would find it really useful to be able to get the cards back that are captured in the prison cell, because they may have willpower. So yeah, that potentially may. I feel like that has the chance, the possibility of actually making this a bit less likely to randomly screw you, which was one of the problems you could have in the non-nightmare version, where you go to your starting prison cell and not find anything useful, or you find something useful, but then the following round you reveal too much threat and you don't get through the prison cell, and then you reveal more threat the round after that, and you still can't get through the prison cell, and there are two more cards under that prison cell, both of which would help you get through the prison cell if you could just get those cards, which you can with this planning action. Goblin Control. Player may capture any number of random cards from his hand on the current quest, and then raise your threat by the number of cards in your hand. Yeah, that's a fun one. You tend, because of how the capture mechanics works and the fact that you don't get any extra resources other than the two at the start, and you only, in fact, you start the quest with as many resources as you would normally have, but they're all concentrated on one hero, and then you still only have one hero, and you're potentially going to take longer to rescue your other heroes in the Nightmare version because of how they've changed how the capture deck works. So you tend to end up with a handful of cards. Raid Golfing Bull's Vault. Ooh, reference to Golfing Bull. Surge captures 3 after card captured by another card effect. Capture a random card from each player's hand. Okay. When the captured cards rescued, put each rescued item card into its owner's hand and discard the rest. Huh. That's interesting. So you can only rescue items. I guess any allies that were in the vault have starved to death. And and so have the mounts. And who knows what's happened to other cards that get captured by the first forced effect. Your unexpected courage has just mysteriously vanished because you were worried about the vault or something. Walk of Thadi. Prison Cell, Cruel Torment, Surge, attached to the current quest, condition attachment, text. Each player cannot have more than 6 cards in his hand. Hand limit. That's interesting, not that big a deal, but then it surges, so sure, whatever. And of course in this quest, you keep rescuing tons of cards. That will be more of a restriction, potentially. Though, I mean, if you build specifically for the quest, then you take that into account and bring discard effects like Protector of Lorien and so on. Torture Chamber. It's interesting to note that I feel like there aren't that many Nightmare cards, but just the few that there are fit in very neatly with the theme of the quest, and then putting them in and taking out the other stuff can really add to the cohesion. Of the quest. Especially, of course, without the Angmar Orcs encounter set, there's just the one encounter set in there. Let's get the Mount Graham one. So the start of the quest is going to be very consistent by general quest standards. But yeah, it is very impressive how it feels like there aren't that many cards added in by the Nightmare deck, but they make that much of a difference. I do like this Nightmare deck. It's just not really well suited to this crazy challenge idea. Still, I got 2 good wins against the non-Nightmare version, and there I think this is a pretty consistent setup. Not 100%, but pretty consistent. That's all I'm going to do. I'm running. I might be running low on deck building challenges that I'm interested in. So it's possible that in 2 weeks' time I might stream something that's not a deck building challenge, or I may pick another challenge. I mean, some of the challenges I'm less interested in. Some I have found more difficult than I expected. Some I might tweak before I do them to make them more interesting to me. Actually, looking at my challenge suggestions here, there are definitely some that are interesting to me that I could go for, and I should be able to manage at least to put it together something plausible for at least one of them. But that said, I might want to introduce some variety. So I do plan to stream again in 2 weeks' time, same time, 8 PM, which is summertime. And it may be a deck building challenge, it may not. Obviously, if it's a deck building challenge, I'll announce it on Warden of Arnor in advance. If it's not, I will at least announce it on the Warden of Arnor Facebook page. I love a reference to Golf and Ball. Yeah, I always like the story about Golf and Ball. I mean, it's very silly, but it has a certain charm to it, and hobbits are very silly. So yeah, I will be streaming something from this game in 2 weeks' time. Either deck building challenge or something else, depending on how I feel. And if it's not a deck building challenge, I may not announce it on the blog, but I will announce it over Twitter. That's at Pocket Wraith, and on the Warden of Arnor Facebook page. And I might still post on the forums to say I'm streaming, it's not a deck building challenge, but it's still a thing. And I'll drop into the Capital Games Discord and mention it there as well. So you will not be bereft of, you will not be without warning, because I've just mentioned that it's going to happen. So that will be Sunday, it'll be the first Sunday in June, whenever that is. The 4th of June. Hopefully see you then. For now, thanks for watching and goodbye.